everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. I have no eyeshadow on because I am going to be going over and playing with the new Odens Perfect World collection. I picked up 2 of the 3 palettes here. I have the Flora palette as well as the Seatalk palette. So in today's video, I'll be going over details of these palettes, inserting in some swatches, and then just playing around to kind of see my thoughts. I really, in 2023, wanted to make it a goal of mine to be trying more indie brands and not just focus on mainstream brands. So I've never tried Odens before. I'm really excited to just see what their formula is about. I saw this collaboration come out and it was just one I felt like I needed to pick up. It was perfect timing. So that's what we'll be doing today. If that sounds good to you, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. But with all that out of the way, let's get started talking about the details of these palettes. All right, so I actually got this box a couple days ago and I haven't had time to open it yet, but here's what the inside looks like. I did kind of just take the bubble wrap off. You do get a little card with the artwork here. I think that that is really pretty. I love just like the whimsical theme of all of this with the watercolor. I think it's really beautiful. And I picked up the, I picked up the Flora palette as well as the Seatalk palette. I did consider getting the entire collection with the Planet Spirit palette, Spirit Planet, something like that, but it was too colorful for me. I knew I wasn't going to get my money's worth out of it, and I'm really trying to be more mindful with my spending habits. Back to the box though, I did also receive 2 of these ribbons that go with each palette. I think that because I was one of the first 1,000 to order, they didn't really give me the option to order without the ribbon, and I won't really get use out of these. I wish that they did do that for people who maybe didn't want the ribbon, and so someone else could have taken advantage of that. But that's okay, I have them now. Each of these palettes do retail for $33.90, and I believe if you picked up all 3 of them, you got a little bit of a price break. But here is the Seatalk palette and what the artwork kind of looks like. It comes in a sleeve, and then here is the color story. I was back and forth on this palette, to be quite honest, because I do love Lauren May Beauty. She's the one that designed this palette. But I was feeling really just, was I going to use these shades? So I went back and forth on this, but I really just looked at here. You know, you have about 1/3 of the palette, a little bit more than that, that has these neutrals as well as these blues you could count as neutrals. It's really just these 2 pink and yellow shade that was really colorful. So I decided ultimately to pick it up, clearly. And then the Flora palette looks like this with the sleeve. And here's the inside, more of a earthy color story. This was a no-brainer for me. Love the greens, love the purples, especially just this tone of purple, kind of more of a desaturated gray purple. That's my favorite color. So this one was a no-brainer. I knew I was going to pick this one up. The Seatalk, I went back and forth, and then the more colorful Animal Planet, I'll pop up a photo just so you can see, was just really colorful. And while it's stunningly beautiful, I was really interested in that kind of white iridescent shade. I just decided to save my money. I made a lot of purchases in February, and I think March, I'm going to really just limit myself on what I'm purchasing because I don't want to continue to add to my collection. And sometimes I can just justify purchasing things because I can put them on YouTube. So I'm going to try and stop doing that. But now that I have these, I'm very excited to play with them. I think that I'll be doing 2 looks with each palette. I'll do 1 on each eye. But let's first go over swatches. I'm going to pop up a photo here of my swatches going top to bottom, left to right. I have Dolphin Tail, Sunken Treasure, Electric Kelp, Mermaid Scale, Ocean Jewel, Smoky Pearl, Driftwood, Iridescent Shell, Sea Spray, and Night Swim. On to the Flora palette for swatches. Again, top to bottom, left to right. I have Dawn, Shroom, Magnolia, Sage, Lush, Clover, Best Buds, Azalea, Misty, and Orchid. That's it on the details of these palettes. Gonna keep it short and sweet because I really just want to dive in and play with these. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but let's just figure that out. I think I'm gonna start with the Seatalk palette here, and maybe I'll do one neutral look and then one just out of my box kind of look. So let's do the colorful one more, just trying to focus on these blues. Okay, it's not that out of the box, it's not that colorful, but for me it is. I think want to try and use mermaid scale to just kind of go out of my box a little bit, and then maybe the yellow in the inner corner. I don't know. I don't think that's gonna look good on me, but I can always take it off. So let's try kind of more these 6 for look number 1, and then I'll really just stick to the neutral for look number 2. Even though I'm gonna stick with more of the blues, I think I'm still gonna go into dolphin tail just to lay something in the crease here. And I do have the Nars Soft Matte Concealer on my lids, kind of just as primer. Everything that I'm wearing, foundation, complexion products, that is all listed in the description box below. But I just kind of want to go in and just carve out my crease a little. I have slightly hooded eyes, so I want to just define my crease a little bit, add somewhat of a shadow, and just bring up my crease before going into all of these shades. And that looks beautiful. I love this shade of brown. I've talked about this before. MAC Wedge was one of my all-time favorite brown singles, and it kind of just had that cool but neutral leaning undertone. And this is also giving me that kind of just vibe. It's a little bit darker than Wedge, but you can kind of really sheer it out. It looks like it's a very buildable shade. I like that a lot. And I think I'm going to go into Sea Spray. Just use my finger and lay this all over the lid first. Let's just start with that. Maybe make this kind of more of a shimmer look. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying out different shadows. I have seen some videos. I watched each of the creators' videos on these palettes, but I have a terrible memory. I can't remember the types of looks that they did. This is really pretty. I don't normally go for blue. Let's not put like this more darker blue. This is Ocean Jewel. And just kind of like feather it on the outer corner here. That looks pretty. I like just how soft and ethereal this looks. It's color without just being too much in your face. I feel like it matches just the aesthetic of the component really well with that just watercolor theme. I'm very much appreciating how much it matches this. Let's go back into Sea Spray. I don't want this to be too dark. I really want this to be nice and light. Kind of go like that. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back into Dolphin Tail and just kind of really redefine this crease here. Since I used my fingers, I'm sure I went out of the lines. Be a little tough for me to see without my glasses on. And Dolphin Tail is just perfectly blending with that blue and kind of just creating like this new blue tone neutral shade. I actually really like this shade a lot. Okay. Now, I think I'm just gonna take Night Swim very lightly, same brush. This is a Sigma E33, and just kind of smoke it out just a little bit. And then I think I'll probably put Ocean Spray on top just to redefine it, because I'm kind of going over where Ocean Spray was. Perfect. Back in with my finger, just redefine Ocean Spray for that shimmer. okay? And before I go in with Mermaid Scale, I'm just gonna quickly do the lower lash line, go in with Night Swim, and very as close to the lash line as possible, lay this down, and maybe even just like 2/3 of the way in, because the lower lash line's where it can get real smoky real fast. And then I'm gonna just wipe off this brush, go back in with Dolphin Tail, and just blend that out. It is turning a little bit darker than I wanted because of lower lash line. So I'm gonna go in with Sea Spray and just try and brighten it up a little by putting this more just all over the lid. I will say the shadows are buildable because I'm not getting any fallout at all. And I've really layered these, especially in this outer corner here. That made it a little bit brighter. And now I'm gonna go in to Mermaid Scale, and I think I'm just gonna pop that in the inner corner. I never do this, like this colorful inner corner type of look, but I wanna just add a little bit more brightness to the look. I've added Mermaid Scale to the inner corner. Here's kind of what it's looking like so far. I'm gonna do look number 2 before I add mascara and everything and clean up this outer corner, but not bad so far. It's different for me, but I kind of like it. It's a nice introduction to color if you're not used to color like I am. So it's something I can feel confident in, but not feel like I'm wearing just a really bright neon rainbow look. I like it a lot. But going in now with look number 2, I'm gonna keep this super simple and just go in with Dolphin Tail, apply this to the crease. These shadows blend really quickly. I like the mattes a lot. I'm also gonna add Dolphin Tail to the lower lash line while I'm just working with this color. I've really been, since trying the Lethal Cosmetics palettes, been appreciating mattes more and more. I don't know what it is. I used to be all about the shimmers, and I'm really just appreciating a good, solid matte. And this one is giving it to me. All right, now that I have that down, just kind of defined the crease, I really want to go in with Smoky Pearl because it's that really taupey, purpley undertone. Sunken Treasure is a little bit more warm for my preferences, but for the sake of trying both, I think that I'll use a brush this time instead of my finger and go in with Sunken Treasure and just kind of apply that more towards the inner part of the lid. Maybe I'll layer both on top. See what they kind of look like mixed together. Bring out like the warmth and Smoky Pearl. There's Sunken Treasure. I just don't feel like it goes with Dolphin Tail. It's just clashing too much. So now that I have that down, I'm just gonna use the same brush, flip it over, go into Smoky Pearl. See if this just looks a little bit better. I'm not loving this look as much as I'm loving the blue. It has nothing to do with the formula, more just what I'm doing. So I'm trying to think of like how I can spice this up because it's almost too neutral, dare I say. So I think I'm gonna go in with this pink iridescent shell and maybe put this in the middle. See if that like punches this up. I think because Dolphin Tail and Smoky Quartz are just so close to each other that it's kind of looking a little too boring for my preferences, and I'm not against boring, just they're too close. This is helping a little bit, but I still don't love this. I wasn't loving Iridescent Shell just in the middle, and I wasn't loving the look overall. So I ended up taking Iridescent Shell and putting it all over the lid, and then taking Smoky Pearl on more of a fluffy blending brush and just kind of using that in the outer corner to just bring some shimmer still and not just the matte with dolphin tail. And I like this a little bit more. I still think I like the blue. I'm figuring out color combos, but this is what I'm settling on. I'm at least happy with it. I'm gonna go off camera real quick, apply some mascara, and just show you what these look like after. Here we go, the looks with mascara. Here's look number 1 and look number 2 with the Seatalk. And this is part of the reason why I apply my mascara off of camera, because I can really just get up closer and see things that maybe I can't see without my glasses on when I'm actually doing my eyeshadow. And I love these looks way more than I did just a few seconds ago. The shimmer that you see in person, I don't know if the camera is picking it up, is so subtle. It's so multi-dimensional in the most beautiful way, especially Iridescent Shell. You would think that it's just very pink looking at it in the pan here, but it's actually a lot more sheer. I'm sure maybe you could build it up. I don't know yet, but the detail to this shadow is stunning. I actually now prefer this look over this one since I was able to just see it closer. I'm really loving how both of these looks turn out, especially when just 30 seconds ago I was kind of feeling meh about it. I think that they are beautiful, but unfortunately now I need to take these off so we can dive into and play with the Flora palette. I'm ready to go in with this Flora palette now. I really want to do something with both this green and this purple. So I think look number 1, I'll stick to the green mattes as well as the green shimmer. We'll kind of just keep it all green. And then look number 2, do all the purples. I definitely want to dip into Dawn and just see what that shade's all about. So hopefully we'll use most of the shades in this palette other than this one and this one, but these two really interest me. They kind of have the same texture as Iridescent Shell, so I really want to play with those two. So that's what I'm going to do. First, let's do green, and I'm still going to dip into Shroom, which is that kind of brown, and again, just carve out my crease a little bit. Bring it a little bit higher, just kind of lay down a shadow. I still, once I removed the Seatalk palette, used my Nars Soft Matte Concealer over to just cancel out all the redness and kind of lay down a base. And I'm not going to be too precise with this because I'm sure I'm going to go back in and blend it later. Yep, perfectly fine. Now into Clover, I kind of want to put this a lot on the lid so that way the misty shade has something underneath it and it really gives us that green. And then I'm just going to bring it up and over that Shroom shade. So it'll just kind of deepen it up. This is like a very thin blending brush. This is the Sigma E33 again. Didn't realize it was the same one as before. Clearly I like this brush. Just blending over that Shroom shade. I think I have a good base going. I'm gonna use the same brush and just go into Sage and just deepen up the outer corner. Make sure I bring it up high enough. You can see the definition in my crease. Because I have hooded eyes, you have to really make sure that your eyes are open and you're looking at what you'll see when your eyes are open. Because when I look down like this, sometimes I'll do it too low and then you can't really see the definition when your eyes are open. So that's why I have to really be careful. I'm looking straight on. That's looking nice so far. Very quick and easy. It's performing the same as the Seatalk palette. Just going to go in with more of a bigger blending brush back into Shroom and just kind of diffuse it up a little, bring that color up high. Even though I have very small eyes, all my siblings always make fun of me for how small my eyes are. I have a lot of lid space. I just don't have big eyes. It can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. All right. So that's how that's looking so far. I'm gonna do the lower lash line first, I think, before going in with this Misty shade. I'm gonna take Clover and just run this along the lower lash line. That's more of that mid-tone. I don't wanna use the darker Sage because it'll just be, I think, too dark. Just run that on the lower lash line into Shroom now and blend that out. Perfect. Even this, just like this, is really nice. I like this. Okay. Now let's go into the fun shade for Misty. Here's what it looks like on my finger here. Just put that all over the lid. This kind of has like a, off the bat, it seems like it has a duochrome element to it. I don't think it does, but it kind of gives like the feeling that it would shift. This is a pretty shade. It really just like brightened up the look. I'm just gonna go back in with that Sigma, no product, just kind of blend it out so it's not too harsh, and then the shimmer's right where I want it. Perfect. This looks really pretty. I love green. I don't know what it is about green. I mean, I'm wearing a green shirt today, but green is, I think, an underrated color. Now I'm gonna go in with Dawn, and I'm gonna apply that to the inner corner here. That's pretty. When I run my brush in it, it kind of picks up like a little weird, like I can see the pink shift and the green shift. I kind of, going back and forth. I almost want to put this more like inner corner, but bring it in even further in as like a topper over this Misty. Oh yeah. This is giving me like Tinkerbell vibes. I don't know why, but I really like it. I think I'm gonna just stop it here. If anything, I kind of just need to do something about this more inner crease part. I'm gonna leave it here. I don't wanna mess with it too much. Here's look number 1 though. There's a tiny bit of fallout on my cheek, but I'm talking very minimal, maybe like 1 or 2 specks. And it could even be from before, and I just didn't get it when I put on the Seatalk palette. But here's what the green's looking like. Can we make the purple just as good? I'm gonna use my color switch. Gonna go back in with Shroom, I think, and just lay down. Essentially, I'm gonna do the same technique that I did with the green and do that with the purple. So I'm gonna lay down this Shroom first. I don't know if I like this Shroom shade more or Dolphin Tail more. They're both just like the perfect everyday neutral that you can use with everything. There's that. So now I'm gonna go into Azalea and run this kind of all over the lid. Shade's not as pigmented as I was expecting. That's okay. It's kind of just giving me more of a light wash of purple. Just going over that Shroom, same as I did with the green. Gonna not mess with it too much. I want to keep it sheer because I can always build it if I need to. Plus, I'm going to lay down that Magnolia shade over top anyways. This is just to give that Magnolia more of a purple base to stick to. Just taking this really fluffy blending brush. There's no additional product. blending out the edges, bringing it up. And then now I'm gonna go in with Orchid very lightly because this is very deep. See how pigmented this is? Put this in the outer corner. Definitely, I kind of want to put this, I like the shade, I like the depthness, but I don't necessarily love the undertone. So I'm going to put this and then I'm going to go back in with Azalea and go on top of it because I like the undertone of Azalea more, but I want that deepness that Orchid gives. Just kind of mix those two together. Hopefully kind of get that more cool undertone out of Azalea. Whereas Orchid kind of has like a blue base to it. Quickly gonna do the lower lash line with Azalea and Shroom before I go in to Magnolia. Now that I have the lower lash line done, the fun part, so I'm gonna pick up Magnolia with my finger. This is kind of different looking than in the pan. Here's the shade compared to my finger. I haven't swatched these yet. I know you've seen the swatches, but I have not swatched it yet. I always do that at the end. It's lighter and more bright than I was thinking. Same thing with the green. This palette, I'm not complaining because I prefer the shades, but it is not true to pan. Even with the Seatalk, there's just like this element of subtleness. I keep repeating the same word because I'm not a thesaurus, but that's the only word I can really think of is just this subtleness with brightness mixed in. I think I'm gonna do the same thing where I just kind of brought it on the inner third as a topper to give even more dimension and shift to the shimmer. And then just have this in the inner corner here. I like that I did the same technique but with different colors because I think it kind of looks interesting together. But here is look number 2. I don't know which one I prefer. This is just more everyday. I could see myself wearing this one more, but the green, there's something about that. I am going to again apply mascara off of camera and come back and show you the final looks for the Flora palette. Mascara's on. I mean, I don't know which one I like more. This is pretty tough for me, actually. I didn't have any fallout on this purple side. I already pointed out the small amount of fallout on the green side, but let me scoot you out a little bit and I'm just gonna talk about my final thoughts on these palettes. I don't think my final thoughts are any secret, but just to go over it once more, I love both of these palettes. I think maybe just 2% of me leans more towards the floral if I just, had to rank them, but I'm happy I picked up both. It really makes me reconsider picking up the third one, but I'm gonna hold strong and go with my initial gut that I don't need it. This formula is excellent though. The shimmers outweigh the mattes just a little bit, but the mattes are also spectacular and blend beautifully. The shimmers just, I can't explain it and put it into words. There's something magical about these shimmers and how they look on the lids. I almost prefer these shimmers over the Lethal Cosmetics one. I'm just comparing it to that because that's another indie brand and I reviewed those palettes not too long ago. So I like the mattes in the Lethal Cosmetics more, but the shimmers here, I can't get enough of these. I will reach for these palettes solely for the shimmers. That's how much I like these. They just give something extra special that I don't have in a lot of my other palettes. If you're like me and you've really just been sticking to mainstream brands that they sell at Ulta or Sephora, just take a step back and start looking into indies more. I'm very happy that I kind of made it a New Year's resolution of mine to try new indie brands because so far every single one has been a 10 out of 10. I mean, I've only tried 2, but both of them are 10 out of 10s. You'll have to let me know in the comments if there's other indie brands that I should prioritize looking into more. So far, I have Clarity Cosmetics on my list. There was one from the UK. I'm blanking on the name right now. I'll pop it up top of one that was kind of catching my eye. So if you have any really good indie recommendations, I'd love to hear them down below. But that's kind of where I'm just gonna leave this review. I think these are great. You'll have to let me know if you pick them up in the comments. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these little ribbons yet. Find something for them. I'll find some kind of purpose, or I'll just find someone who will appreciate them more than I will. But I appreciate you coming to hang out with me, watching me play around with these palettes. Hopefully the swatches were helpful, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everyone.